Hello, hello. So for this week's Pentadic Criticism, I chose to do it on Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper painting. I just thought it had great meaning behind it. I think that it would be easy for me to elaborate on the story, the scene, what's going on, the whole thing. So, I started off by, expressing like where the painting is in Santa Maria del Grose in Milan, Italy. I probably botched that whole name, but that's okay. And it's wall to wall it's huge painting. It took him about 3 years to paint it, and there was a lot of work that went into it while he wasn't like super dedicated to it. Like he continually like went back to it and like sorry. And so I think that it was a really big part of his work, and that it wasn't like he was working on it day in and day out for 3 years, but that he was like committed to it during that time, and that it was a meaningful piece to him. It's a great example because there is like a story behind it, and like as a believer, like I know the exact story that he's trying to convey. But I definitely think that as a non-believer viewing the painting, reading the title, The Last Supper, I think that you're really able to like see their faces, and you can kind of, they might not like put every piece together, but the disciples' faces are all confused and shocked and angry and like trying to figure out why Jesus just told them, one of you is going to betray me, because they're all like, no, I would never, but a lot of them did. And so I think that as a bystander or just as like a viewer of it, that you could be able to kind of like put those things together. The first artifact is the agent, and I wasn't sure if I thought the main character was Jesus or the disciples, because I think they both bring power to the painting. I think that they, like Jesus, what he's saying and who he is a big piece in that. And then I also think that the disciples and their reaction, like obviously Jesus didn't just tell them good news, like he told them concerning news, and so they're kind of like, let's figure it out. The next term is scene. I think that scene is the biggest like takeaway, the biggest impact of it all, because what that scene is Jesus telling them that this is their last dinner, it's their last night, like like he's gonna be betrayed and all this stuff. And I think that I do think that my knowledge of the scene and what's being taken place makes it a bigger impact to me. I think when you know what's going on in the scene exactly. But I also think that there are people who are into art who are able to like put those pieces together that like obviously like it wasn't good, or there was like tension. Like I think that there's a group of people who are able to determine those things rather than me. The next term is purpose. I think that the purpose of this painting is to kind of unpack the disciples more so than Jesus. So maybe they are the main character. But there was way more of an intentional design in having them face all the one way. There was an intentional in their faces, and who was next to each other in that time, and like creating their reaction to it. I think that the purpose of it was to give us a step into that moment. Obviously, none of us have closely stepped into that moment, but that in that moment was a big time, and so he's able to capture everyone of Jesus like confessing that, and then the disciples hearing about it. I definitely loved this piece. I learned a couple little like tidbits about it that I didn't necessarily fully understand or like know before, and so it was a cool thing to learn about it and what it was. So yeah, that was my criticism.